My mother once pressed a large knife against my throat and told me she will slit it. She said I deserved to die. On another occasion, during freezing winter nights, she locked me outside the house, wearing nothing, just a thin pajama. Oh my god, I was just a small child. Has anyone ever told you that you can create an artistic weirdo online series sharing the true story of your traumas, your journey of healing, and your path to growth? Can somebody really redefine their mindset and rewrite their destiny?
Honestly, who knows? But I will give it a try with you by my side.
First, I will confront the cruel experiences of my past and revisiting the scenes where they took place. Dude,
This is the Mindset Monkeys.
I've always had a coping strategy that helps me find meaning in my pain. I constantly try to view all this suffering as a method to unlock my superpower, an opportunity to help others, to give back and defend myself. I believe that this would lead me to discover the true meaning of my life. I think simply telling the story of my abuse isn't enough. Yes, it's probably therapeutic, but I feel it's my duty to provide solution and inspiration for others too. I want to find and share more inspiring stories and people, and I want to create a great community. My name is Oli and I endured a violent childhood. In other words, I'm a survivor of abuse. Until I was 12, I lived in Szilosliget, Hungary. For the most part, I grew up with my mother, who was a complex figure in my life. My only parent, my caretaker, and also my sadistic tormentor. Once, she pressed a large knife against my throat, saying she would slit it because I deserved to die. I was only 4 or 7 years old at the time. I was completely convinced that one day she cruelly take my life. I was terrified and I could never rest or feel safe. My nervous system is accustomed to the permanent stress. I had no refuge, no safe to have retreat with my wounds. I was terrified of knives, even periodically during my adulthood. I visited the old salt house a few days ago and took few shots. It has been fully renovated, a completely different and lovely place.
Now, on one hand, it was satisfying to see how everything had changed as my entire childhood vanished like fog. But on the other hand, I felt conflicted. This could have been our home, my mother's and mine, under different circumstances.
She tortured me and humiliated me systematically, deliberately, all the time. It became a habit for her. When she was stronger than me, she would often grab my hair and violently yank or twist it sadistically. Once, unfortunately for my mom, she gave the wrong instruction to a hairdresser, and the woman shaved my hair completely bald. My mom started yelling hysterically, almost losing consciousness. She seemed horrified, panicking as if she had lost the opportunity to terrorize me in that way. For the first time in my life, I felt an indescribable sense of happiness and calm. Even though she forbade me, I went on to shave my head myself many times after that. On another occasion, during freezing winter nights, she locked me outside the house wearing nothing but a thin pajamas. As an adult, I experienced panic attacks at night. I needed to turn on the small light on my bedside table to be able to sleep without fear. There's a closed grocery store near my elementary school. This place holds a significant memory of my early years because it's where my mom forced me to steal for the first time. That experience shaped me for many years and set me on a destructive path. I felt it was unacceptable, but she emotionally blackmailed me. She told me I didn't deserve her love, shamed me and called me a failure and a disappointment. I was completely confused and devastated. But I did it to earn her attention and love. My father, they divorced.
And after that, he shrinked all his responsibility as a father. When I stayed with him for a short while because my mother got right to being a mother.
He made me babysit his best friend's kid, who was barely younger than me, while he was off screwing his friend's wife.
So pathetic.
He even tried to sleep with his drunk brother's wife. I mention it because when he discovered that I had started exploring intimacy and found a few porn magazines in my drawer, he didn't mess around with teaching me anything about intimacy. Instead, he beat me mercilessly with his fists.
He's hypocritical and shameless, yet also covertly sneaky and greedy.
Once, when he took me to kindergarten, he literally kicked me all the way there. Simply because I was crying, anxious, and I didn't want to go. He also tried to avoid paying child support whenever he could. I tried to contact him a few times later in life because, after all, he's my father. But there came a point when I decided I had enough. When he told me he wouldn't visit his grandson, my son, unless I gave him money. He hasn't seen my child since because I refused to give in to his blackmail. Back to my mom.
Another disgusting thing. When I was a bit older and then by she no longer had milk.
She still forced me to suck her nipples. This sick behavior deeply affected me for a long time, particularly in my relationship with my girlfriend's breasts.
I have to confess it was extremely hard for me to admit and talk about this. I simply felt ashamed. When I finally found the courage to share it, one of my therapists
told me that this was indeed sexually abuse.
That realization hit me like a punch in the gut. I was devastated for days.
We moved to Budapest after I turned to 12. During those years, many significant life changes events occurred. Overall, things didn't improve much. Didn't gain a caring, stable family or anything like that. But however, few major aspects and dynamics shifted. For instance, I realized I had become physically stronger than my abusive mother,
which gave me the ability to defend myself against her physical abuse.
While the physical abuse lessened, the emotional terror intensified significantly. Furthermore, it opened up a whole new world that captivated my mom. She was always drawn to sin, violence, crime, danger, but it took it to another level.
She surrounded herself with dubious characters as new friends and romantic partners.
Many of them ended up jail for violent, serious crimes,
while others were deeply wounded, wicked, or utterly destructive.
One of her boyfriends was an Albanian ex-UÇK soldier who had to flee Hungary during the Yugoslav war to escape political persecution and possible execution.
At the time, like many similar men, he was a part of and worked for the local division of an
organized crime group, the Albanian Mafia. Yes, that was a long time ago, and now this man has died. Based on the information I have, nobody knows his real identity, and I don't have authentic evidence. I really don't want to dig into more deeply because the Albanian Mafia is the Albanian Mafia. Seriously dangerous with pew-pews, a bunch of assassinations, drugs, so on and so forth.
That guy was a sort of father figure to me, and I had feelings for him in my reverse volume system.
Because sometimes he brought me a Red Bull, and I saw it as a sign of care. And everybody was afraid of him, which looked so cool for me, because I felt like a worthless nobody.
Weak and constantly living in fear.
Another guy specialized in robbing ATMs. They used chains and powerful trucks to rip the machines out of walls. Another acquaintance tattooed the following sentence on himself while in jail.
All bitches kneel at my feet. What a gorgeous role model for a kid or a teenager, don't you think?
In our new home, there were often a few valuable individuals.
Like the alcoholic boxer.
Once when he was drunk and he knocked on our door. When I opened it, he stumbled on into my room, fell on into my bed and bled, urinated and defecated on it.
That was my bed for years.
And my mother had a friendship with a Romanian pimp who facilitated the trafficking of defenseless young girls into Hungary, along with others.
I always had to try to talk my mother out of getting involved prostitution, smuggling, and other similar activities.
She remained a passionate shoplifter. Her official narrative was that she had to steal to feed me.
But the truth is, she simply enjoyed it. Yes, she was disabled, but initially not in a very severe way.
She walked with stick most of the time without significant issues and often went out at night to bars and pubs. Her life condition worsened much later due to her own life choices. Yes, the way I grew up didn't disappear without a leaving trace. These experiences had shaped me,
And I was definitely wounded. I had to facing with a number of challenges.
including depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and high blood pressure. Sometimes I desperately seek scraps of attention, the physical and emotional sensation of human connection. I struggle with a kind of sex addiction, but most of the time I'm just looking for validation, something warm, to feel something.
Additionally, I have had to fight for self-acceptance because I have truly hated myself. This isn't surprising, of course. I constantly heard that I was an unwanted failure who didn't deserve to live.
My mother wished day after day for me to become a disabled so I could understand her or simply to die. That was many years ago. My mother has passed away and I don't know anything about my father nowadays. However, things are getting better and better. Looking back or align myself with this kind of role model, I also became a real troublemaker. Yes, I was arrested a few times and I was involved in some criminal activities.
I'm not proud of it. Fortunately, thanks for some great and kind people, I managed to avoid serious consequences, such as jail time or a criminal record.
I have many wonderful and truly valuable people around me. I have friends, a wife, and family. Things are not perfect. Sometimes life happens. For example, someone passes away, as sadly and naturally as it happens. Or I cross necessary boundaries, just like others similarly to me. I make mistakes, so many mistakes.
But sooner or later, I try to learn from the consequences.
I really strive to love and appreciate others. And now I've learned to approach myself with patience.
No, not this. Because I believe there are better paths.
That suffering doesn't just have to be survived, it can be transformed into something meaningful. There are studies, methods, and countless moving, inspiring human stories.
I want to seek them out across the world.
Understand them, share them, and in the process build a consciousness-supportive community.
Create more episodes, publish books.
If you like this vision, please subscribe, like, comment, or share this video. Even small gestures like this help a lot in reaching more people.
Now, I feel ready to give back something to others. I have plans, so many plans.
This series is part of an independent, self-funded initiative. To help us continue producing future episodes and evolving the project, support us via Donably.
Thought she said something to me. We were never friends, told them I am not your buddy. Now they all call, I got some buzz like honey. Then they check the Spotify and they looking at me funny.